In our continued tour of Every Furry Knows Each Other, today we're playing Labor of Love because for MFF, we won the room lottery for the Hyatt, but we entered with 4 people, and they gave us 1 bed. So Jackson showed up with an inflatable mattress, and that's why I'm playing his game. It's hard for me to focus sometimes. Staring at the same bright light, devoid of creativity or emotion, just becomes too tedious, even as I force myself to thrust some creation upon it. Sometimes I get distracted. The temptation of a quick water break, watching a video online, seeing what other people are posting. It's the little things. A 10-minute reprieve from slaving over my keyboard. Sometimes the ideas escape me, brushing me, teasing me with their mere existence, only to be drawn into the maw with everything else, knowing that I cannot hope to save them. Sometimes I type away fruitlessly. The words come out, but doesn't resonate. It doesn't... I always felt corny saying click, but it's true in some ways, I suppose. Look around writing forums enough and you often see one phrase parroted above all others. Just start writing whatever comes to mind. Normally good advice when your mind isn't being thrown against the block. It's also a great way to get a lot of people that are writing about writing. It's the advice I've given so many times when prompted about my previous successes. Through that mantra, the method I've come to rely on has only failed me this time. Now, I'm stuck staring into a horrid blank canvas, the only sign of life being that damned blinking cursor after I'd taken care to erase everything off of it. God, I fucking hated it. It wasn't too long ago that I'd see an empty page, a digital realm where thoughts became tangible through simple keystrokes, and get excited. I mean, who wouldn't? You're unbound by any past work, unburdened by a word count, by a page count. It's just you, your ideas, and a world of possibilities, all contained within a computer screen. Almost 6 months of staring at said empty page has killed whatever part of me felt excitement. It drowned that eagerness, that enthusiasm, in an endless white void. Fuck. The expletive comes out as a whisper. Whoops. A silent prayer to whichever cruel god permits such a thing as writer's block to exist to end my suffering. And if they won't do that, then maybe they can take pity on me and give me some damn inspiration. Please? Fuck. I throw my paws up, pushing away from the desk and away from that mocking screen. I want to pick up the laptop and fling it across the room, or punch the wall, or hell, even punch the wall behind it. I sigh, loudly, loud enough that's more of a groan. Maybe when I was younger, I'd do something stupid like that. Instead, I let my arms drop back to my side. My eyes drift over the clock on the computer's taskbar. Almost midnight. I've really been sitting here for 4 hours just staring at an empty page, haven't I? God, that's depressing. I'm under personal attack here when I have my 10-month-long gap between videos on the essay channel. I was writing, though. I was writing like 8 different scripts is the problem. And then 6 of them, I'm like, never, these are stupid. I'm not doing these anymore. Sometimes deleting is writing. No sense in making it another 4, I suppose. That is so a thing, though. The days where like you're so you really wish you knew in advance whether or not this was going to be a productive day. Because if it wasn't going to be a productive day, then you could have, had a day off instead of having a day where you do nothing, but also it's not a day off. I just think I had so many days where I would try to get all my recordings done ahead of time for the Let's Play channel in the first few days of the week, and then I'm like, okay, here's the few days that I have to just write for the essay channel. I've carefully set this apart. And I just watch the time remaining just vanish via a series of like distractions and multitasking and ideas not coming and all the different possible things that can go wrong and so on. And then it's just over and I didn't do anything. I'm like, fucking... I wish I'd given myself a normal ass day that like gamers have. Like imagine just playing a game all day, just hanging out, just like practicing whatever game you want to be good at or whatever, or doing something else with your life, drawing, whatever. And instead I'm like, no, I just did nothing today. That's what I have to show for trying to write. It's like the most rewarding thing because whenever it actually goes somewhere, whenever you actually do what you want to do when you finally finish something. But there are so many incredibly unrewarding days in the process, and it's actually torture when that happens because you're so disappointed in yourself, and you're also just thinking of the opportunity cost of like what you could have done with those hours instead of doing nothing with them because you were trying to write but couldn't do that. Blah. With another sigh, I close my laptop. It's the ultimate expression of defeat, one I've grown far too accustomed to. I didn't even bother to close the document. Not like there was anything worth saving anyhow. Rubbing at my eyes, a yawn escapes past my lips. I feel like I could fall asleep in my chair right now. It wouldn't be the first time I've done so, though it's usually after a long day of actually writing something. Doing so tonight would feel disrespectful to that long, dead version of me. I think Benny would kill me, too. Not wanting to die just yet, I swivel around in the plush leather chair, sitting up far too quickly as I feel blood rush back into my legs. Oh, that wasn't a good sound. There's a crack from somewhere on my body. My knees, maybe my back, it's hard to tell. It's not the pleasant sensation you'd get from popping your knuckles or neck in just the right way. No, that cracking just now was a cruel reminder that I'm pushing 45. Oh well, just gotta learn to live with it. I cross my small, windowless office with as much speed as I can muster. It's certainly an impressive sight, I imagine. Oh no, you're right in the room with no window? A chubby, middle-aged elk whose fur is already graying, moving with all the grace of a wounded animal. Yeah. I need to get to bed. This is what happens when I stay up too late. Yawning once again, I reach the office door and pull it open. You try to write at a time of day where you only have 4 hours until you're officially staying up too late already? When is he writing? Granted, I've done a lot of writing at night, but I've done a lot of writing that was for fun at night. I did not do a lot of essay writing at night. All of the lights are out, save for one above the kitchen's counter. That means Benny's probably already upstairs. Whether or not he's asleep is another question. Back when I was actually writing pages upon pages of work, and I didn't fall asleep in my office, I'd stumble upstairs to find my wolf half awake, a paw resting on the side of the bed. I'd climb in, make sure my antlers didn't poke his eyes out, and he'd be on me in an instant, slotting in against my bulk with a content grumble. He's such a canine sometimes, and I love it. This happy thought is quickly overshadowed by the fact that I haven't been in there writing pages upon pages of work. I'd done nothing. Now I'll stumble upstairs, climb into bed, have my wolf snuggle up against me, and feel nothing. Stretching a few times before closing the office door behind me, I lumber across the laminate floor. Is the TV still going? Did Benny leave it on? My weary eyes set on the fridge before I get too distracted. I'll check it later. Maybe. Drink first. Sitting and staring at a blank computer for 4 hours really makes you thirsty. I reach the fridge in a few strides and pull it open. Expecting to find well-stocked shelves and especially some orange juice, I find a cold, frigid space lacking anything fresh. Right. We're leaving town tomorrow. No groceries. Another sigh. Another bit of disappointment. I'm not sure if I'm excited about the trip now. Closing the fridge, I instead opt for a glass of water. It's better than nothing, and I down it in a few quick gulps. The used cup finds its home on the countertop, and I make my way towards the stairs, feeling a malaise settle over me like a heavy blanket. You forgot the TV. Oh my god. This room's huge. It's smaller than I thought it was, because for a second I thought I was looking at the bed in the middle of the room. And I'm like, how the fuck big is your bedroom? But you guys afford a place where the couch looks small. That's fucked up. I didn't really look around the living room as I walk with my body operating on an autopilot as it carries me towards the stairs. As I reach them, my ears flick once, then twice, a sound capturing their attention. It's the sound of rain on glass. A gentle trickle of pitter-patters before the heavens open up and release a downpour. Even as high up as we are in our downtown apartment, we can still watch the rain fall. It's a pleasant sight on most days, and though I'm not in the best of moods, my eyes are still drawn to the living room's windows. Again, my feet move on their own, following my eyes in their desire to watch the storm. A downpour indeed, but not a violent one. Water streaks down the glass in great waves, rain carried on a wailing wind. Some of the more severe storms would see the windows of the building rattle and creak as the elements test the structure, but right now it's standing firm. It permits me a mystifying view of the city below. The harsh LED lights and artificial neon are mere twinkles amidst a sea of black. An artificial night sky, all dancing and melting together within the water that cascades down the windows. Like watching a moving, abstract oil painting. Or perhaps a watercolor one. The window, a canvas, a medium to reflect wait. Shit. I think I had something there. Fuck. I throw out my paws in exasperation before they rub over my eyes and snout. Another moment of inspiration, snapped up by some unseeable force. An invisible black hole that's been following me for months now. Only this one permits no idea to escape its gaping maw. It's maddening at this point. Even more so, because I know what I want to write, I just can't find any way to make that idea a reality. This scene, right here, me staring out into the rainy night, at a city awash with the artificial dressings of a decadent society, it's what gave me the first idea all those months ago. A noir story. Gangsters, cigarette smoke, dangerous love, and deadly crime. All a backdrop for the story of a stalwart private investigator doing his best to carve out a living in a corrupt society. All the elements are there, floating around my stupid head. I can't get them out. Fucking Oh, it's raining. Dios mio! The sudden southern drawl startles me out of my musings, and I whip around to see its source. My right antler bumping against the window and almost throwing me off balance. Benny's scruffy, sleep-deprived face is poking out the back of the couch. His glasses askew and fur matted on one side. He's surprised, yet alert, and looks ready to leap over the couch to catch me if I lost my balance. Guess he'd been sleeping on the couch. Looks like the TV's on too. Yeah, you forgot? It's muted, but my eyes flit over to it, catching glimpses of an episode from an old sci-fi TV show. I thought you heard it earlier. I guess he could have muted it. Spaceships. Okay. Spaceships, wolves, jackals, that sort of thing. Not my cup of tea. I steady myself, looking back at Benny. Ben, don't scare me like that. I could have broken an antler if I'd hit the window any harder. How do you not scare someone by addressing somebody quietly from across the room? Like when, I think of times when Stephanie's like, oh, you scared me. And I'm like, I've been in this kitchen for like 10 seconds already. Just doing stuff in the kitchen. Just stop being startleable in the kitchen all the time. I didn't even jump you. Sorry, Zav. Are you okay? You didn't ship it or anything, did you? I reach up, running a paw along the antler's length, feeling out its 8 points. Thankfully, everything's still there. No, it's fine. Phew. Thank God. Rather not have to glue you back together. Benny lets out a boisterous laugh at that. While it's tinged with a palpable layer of exhaustion, it's still light and free. It lifts my own mood too, and I join in. Yeah, that'd be pretty shitty. A nice repeat of our honeymoon, I'd say. Anyway. Benny adjusts himself on the couch, not any similarly spelled words, sitting up while turned around so he can better look at me. How'd things going there, then? I wince. It's the million-dollar question, one I've always been tempted to tell Benny not to ask, especially nowadays. Before, I used to be able to go into minute-long diatribes about what I'd gotten done. I'd have divulged as many plot lines and character moments he'd wanted to hear, and kept many more hidden for when he read the story himself. It's what I'd done with my first novel, that runaway success I've yet to capitalize on. Nothing like that's happening tonight, though. And I can see that Benny has his answer, just from looking at me. Ah, shoot. Come here, Zavy. Zavy? Zavy Gravy? Xavier? Xavier? Javier? Is it Javier? He said stuff in Spanish, so it could be Javier. But that's usually a J. Can X also be Javier? It's Xavier, right? It's different. It's completely right. Anyway, we're just gonna stick with Zavy Gravy. He pats the empty space to his right, beckoning me over. Well, I'd prefer we head up to bed, especially considering we've got an early flight tomorrow morning. Lounging on the couch with my wolf is just what I need right now. I don't even bother walking around the couch. Instead, I clamber over its backside while making sure I don't shove a hoof through our glassed coffee table in the process. Your coffee table's behind your couch? Weird. I sit down in the space Benny made for me, and for a split second, I slowly move to lean into him. Then I remember the antlers. It's impossible to snuggle against Benny when I have them. That's a luxury I can only afford a few months out of the year. He still makes it work, though. And the minute my butt finds purchase against the plush fabric, he's on me. Soft, furred arms wrap around my waist. Benny pulls himself in. Maybe he pulls me close. It's hard to tell with his strength sometimes. Either way, he finds his preferred spot, with his legs locking mine in a loose vice grip, and his body pressing against mine as he nuzzles my chest. He rests his head against it, with a contented grumble. I, in turn, settle my chin against his head and wrap my own arms around his body, leaning back against the couch's armrest. The smell of his fur wash, still as strong as this morning, hits my nostrils immediately. Blueberry and vanilla, wrapped up with his natural scent. It provides an immediate relief. Sorry, Xavier. I shouldn't have asked that. I know it's been a tough few days for you. More like a tough few months. It's... The temptation to vent my frustrations is there. I know Benny would listen to them, and maybe even offer some good advice. He is a world-class project manager, after all. It's why we've been living out in London for 5 years now. He has the uncanny ability to salvage even the most dire of situations and guide them through to completion. It's exactly what I needed right now. It's fine. I'd rather not talk about it. I don't want to ruin this moment either. He's got enough on his plate as it is. Best to change the subject. We fly out tomorrow morning, right? That we do. This time tomorrow we'll be sleeping soundly in our luxury Venice hotel. Or dancing our brains out at a nightclub. Benny gives another hearty laugh. You hate nightclubs, huh? The crowds are stressful, yeah. But it's manageable, with you around. He pushes into me at that, letting out another grumble as his right paw finds purchase against my left one with a gentle squeeze. Well, we won't have much time for that anyhow. Got that winery tour, the dinner, the concert, the museums, the architecture tour, the beach. There's a soft thumping against the couch as Benny continues on summarizing our trip's activities. His pup-like excitement is something I'll never get tired of, even after spending almost 25 years together. And he has a right to be excited. This whole weekend getaway is his brainchild. At the time, we billed it as a celebratory trip for the successful publication of my first novel. But work soon piled up for my wolf, and the summer months came and went. To say Benny was upset at not being able to make it work is an understatement. If you're wondering why they're overusing the phrase "my wolf," I should fill in the context, which is that this was for a game jam that was called May Wolf. That was all about it was supposed to be my wolf stories. I think was the get up or something. I don't know what the rules were exactly. But everyone had 1 month to make a visual novel. And this character that you're looking at right now was the one that was provided as the asset that you could use to make your May Wolf game. There's only the second game from this game jam we're playing. The first one was Before You Depart, which I don't know how the fuck they did that. I don't know how they did that whole game for a game jam, and it had no right to come out as good as it did. And I guess it's not that surprising that Before You Depart won, but there's like 20 or 30 other entrants in there if you want to check them all out. To say Benny was upset and not being able to make it work is an understatement. He'd come home and flop onto the couch, sometimes falling asleep for a few hours, sometimes just staring blankly at the ceiling. I hated seeing it, and had half a mind to lay into his boss for putting so much work on him. But he managed, far better than I have with my own work issues. And here we are again, on the cusp of the long-planned weekend getaway. Only now, I'm the one who's stressed to the breaking point. I've not been able to write for months now. I'm stalled out, exhausted, and just tired of it all. Pro tip: write smut. Just get some juices flowing, come back, give it another go. Just write something else. Just write something stupid that doesn't matter. Just write nonsense. Just do it. Write something. So much for trying to capitalize on my past success so I can actually start to contribute. I feel that though. On the essay channel, I was really getting stressed out about the fact that, first of all, that the Ad Astra video took 7 months to come out because it's like I felt like I was squandering the success of the Lego She video. But then the Ad Astra video and Lego She video had some kind of feedback loop, and it led to the Lego She video having 1 million views. So watching it climb towards 1 million while I climbed towards hitting 10 months of not finishing a video before the plush one came out was making me feel like I was just like, wow, okay, congrats on capturing success. You wasted it. Everyone's gonna forget about you, and by the time you make another video, no one's gonna watch it. The algorithm will ignore you or whatever, and it's just like you're gonna go back to making videos to get 2,000 views like you did before the Beastars one. And you're gonna question whether or not any of this was worth it, and it's the end of your short-lived career at whatever this was. I can't call it a career because it doesn't make me, the essay channel does not make me income level of money, really. An income level of money. Wow. Maybe that's why. I make sentences like that. Xavier, Han, you awake up there? Huh? What? Shit. I got lost in my thoughts. I looked down at Benny, finding his piercing yellow eyes focused on me. Sorry, I was just... Never mind. Yeah, that all sounds like it'll keep us busy. I eke out a half-hearted, enthused chuckle. I've never been good at hiding my feelings. I'm very much a wear your heart on your sleeves kind of elk. It'll be nice to see some sun. I don't think I could take another cloudy day at this point. Right. Well, that's for damn sure. We don't have to do everything. We don't have to go do everything I scheduled. Half of it I didn't even need a down payment, so we can flake as much as we want. I quirk a brow at that, a smirk forming on my muzzle. You? Flake? Since when? Since right now. This is our vacation. Even though it's only 3 days, and most of it's over the weekend, I ain't letting anything keep me from going with the flow. Only electronic device I'm bringing is my phone. No laptop, and if work calls me, I ain't picking up. Benny's hand moves. Benny's had to work a few hours on the weekends for the past several months. Something to do with an ad campaign needing to get over the finish line. Hearing such a firm commitment from him does come as a surprise, though. Leaving poor Tucker to fend for himself? Benny scoffs at that, waving a paw lazily in the air. Ah, that kid's gonna do just fine without me. Besides, we're just about done with that damn project. I doubt he'll be getting a call this weekend. It's just gonna be me, you, and all Italy has to offer within a 3-day radius. And at that, I angle my muzzle down some, planting a kiss on top of Benny's head. He lets out a content grumble, nestling himself further against me. And who knows? Maybe this old trip will be enough to get you out of that spout, blah 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 spout of not being able to say the line. Maybe this old trip will be enough to get you out of this bout of writer's block. Some time off work always does me wonders. I frown at that. More unsolicited advice. I mean, it is good advice, but fuck. Something about it just makes my fur bristle. Maybe it's because it sounds like Benny's been worried about me. He shouldn't have to be. He's got enough to be worried about without trying to manage a rioter with an abysmal workflow. I catch Benny's piercing yellow gaze on me again. Right. Yeah. Another half-hearted laugh. Another piss-poor deflection. I think it'll help. My train of thought is unceremoniously cut off by a yawn. It's long and whining. And as I shift to stretch with it, I can hear Benny give one as well. We should head to bed. Gotta brave the airport tomorrow. Oh, you'll be just right, Xavier. You got the travel expert here. You're right, though. Bedtime. Although... Suddenly there's a paw reaching underneath my tank top, brushing against the fur on my belly and chest before creeping lower, stopping just near the waistband. You in the mood for a little pre-vacation fun? There's a tug on my waistband, his paw ready to dive in. I shiver at the sudden intimacy, welcoming it wholeheartedly for a moment before the wave of exhaustion and stress returns. It's a strange combination of emotions, and I don't like it. It kills any desire I might have had for some fun. Let's save it for the actual vacation, yeah? Goodness me, my majestic elk wants to do it on the beach then. There's a scandalous idea. Benny does retract his paw, but not before a few more idle rubs and a kiss on my cheek. Perondo. There's a few more whacks against the couch from Benny's tail before he sits up, pushing himself onto the floor. He helps me up with the paw as well, pulling me in tight for another quick kiss. Only for you. And at that, we head up to the bed together, my eyes drifting over to the window as we climb the stairs. That fleeting idea, this grand concept, it all weighs heavy on my mind. It's out there, somewhere. But maybe this vacation, its respite, would do me well. And maybe with it, I can find some inspiration. Being a travel expert can only help you so much against the ever-changing, impartial whims of airline travel. We got to the airport on time, but then had to wait almost half an hour in security. Benny's the one who travels frequently, and while we could have used his expedited clearance, he opted to brave the general security with me. Thank God he did. I don't think I could have done it alone. I despise all these crowds. Everyone's always pushing and shoving and yelling, and just thinking about it again is enough to flare my anxiety. Benny made it all the more manageable, though. We got through just fine, no forgotten passports, and were then met with a 4-hour delay thanks to mechanical issues. The age-old cry of the oppressor, according to Benny. Thankfully, once we boarded our flight, took our seats in business class, again under benefit to Benny's frequent travel, everything's gone swimmingly. The flight? Bumpy, but manageable with some cheap in-house wine. Travel to the hotel? Delightful. I don't think I've ever met a more charismatic cab driver than Gio was. That man could talk himself into the Pentagon. The hotel itself? As luxurious as promised. It almost makes me wish we were spending more than a weekend. Sure, by the time we got there, it was almost the evening, but I'm trying not to let it bug me too much. Benny didn't seem that bothered, though he's usually far better at hiding it than I am. Either way, we made it. We rented a Vespa from a local shop and motored into Venice proper for a casual dinner. Nothing too fancy. That'll be the night of the concert. They're in Venice. And now we're enjoying the perfect nightcap to the evening. A stroll through the canals of Venice. It's one of those scenes I've seen in all sorts of media. From being described in books to showing up on the big screen. It's an iconic locale. Truthfully, it's not all that impressive. I mean, sure, the architecture's nice. The use of the waterways for travel is neat, especially considering when the city was first built. Revolutionary at the time, but now it's just another place in the world. And then there's the smell. It's not bad. Actually, it's pretty bad. I was expecting a bit more fresh sea air, but instead I've only picked up a pungent stench that wafts off the canals. I can't quite place it, but it's thankfully offset every now and then by the smell of baked goods and coffee from a nearby cafe. I'm dying. It's all over. Most are closing up for the evening as Benny and I plod along, taking our sweet time to enjoy being here. And that's what I appreciate the most right now, being here with Benny. There's no pressure from work, no expectations, no deadlines, no publishers sending messages about how work on the next book is coming along while offering advances and ghostwriters and... No. Stop thinking about it. Just think about being here with him. I never knew I'd get like the value of vacation so hard until I started doing video essays and then started going to furry conventions. Because like being self-employed and having the ability to spend infinite time working on something or other, like, at least with the Let's Plays, I had like a quota each week. So it's like if I'm working too far ahead, it's just kind of pointless at some point. Like, why am I scheduling months in advance of videos? Like, I should just stop working and do something else. But once I then gave myself a second job for writing, well, now I can just think about writing all the time and always be writing. And then there's just an element of like juggling like the recordings with the streams, with the writing, with the other stuff I'm trying to do, and I'm always got something going on. But then you just get on a plane and go to a different city that you don't have, and then you just like, well, none of my stuff's here, so I guess I'm just here now. And suddenly you're like, you just escaped this thing. You're like, oh, thank God. Same thing goes for, that's why I like a policy for saying yes to like basically everything when I get invited to stuff, because it's like, okay, we're gonna go do something. It's impossible to work while that's happening, and I already said yes, so that day is just gonna be that now, and that's like my only time off, because it's hard to have it's hard to have time off properly when you don't have like a boss and hours that end. Like, I think about like how so many people's lives are structured around their day job, and a lot of those people would like to quit their day job to do what I do, and there are reasons to think that way. But there's reasons that there are definitely upsides to having a shift that has a beginning and an end, and then you just, like, it's almost like they're, in a way, it's like people are still in, like, a version of, like, what they went through when they were in school, where it was, like, you go and you wake up in the morning, you go to school, you have lunch, you take your classes, you take the bus home. School ended. The end. You have the rest of the day to, admittedly, have to deal with homework, but you get to go do other stuff because you're no longer in school mode. It is impossible for you to take tomorrow's science class today. So maybe, unless school got really weird during online COVID stuff, but yeah, like it is very hard to give yourself time off, and I find that. And it's like an interesting trap I fell into, because I specifically, my dad was self-employed, and when I saw how stressed his job made him, my thought for a long time was, I will never be an entrepreneur. That would be stupid, because I'm just going to recreate what he's doing. But then I did. Whoops. I don't regret it exactly. Like, it was, I hated my job, and so when YouTube started making more, I'm like, well, if I don't chase this opportunity, I'm just gonna regret that forever, right? So I better give that a go. But I'm just saying, there are, in fact, downsides to being your own boss, which is that you're kind of a dick to yourself. Looking at Benny, I find my comfort. There doesn't seem to be a worry in the world for him right now. His snout is wrinkled some, his ears flick at odd intervals, but that same stoic expression of his is plastered on his face. I doubt the smells are bothering him that much. So if he can be calm, cool, and collected, then so can I. Look at the swagger on this guy. Look at this guy. He's like, I'm gonna go to a foreign country and I'm gonna wear short shorts and an open shirt. Everyone's gonna look at my chest. That's just what's gonna happen here. Besides, like you said, I think this vacation is just the thing I needed. A detox, if you will. One to clear the mind away from that dingy office and horrid blank canvas. Benny catches my staring. And he smiles back at me, giving a gentle squeeze of my paw. Yeah. This is exactly what I needed. A leisurely walk down this cobblestone street, our paws entwined with each other, our souls pressed against the smooth stones with each step. I could feel all those anxieties about this phantom idea melt away. And we continue our walk, my mind absorbing the sights much better now that I'm actively ignoring the smell. The dull whites and muted yellows from street lamps cast long, dynamic shadows on the stone buildings. Oh wow, dynamic shadows. It's a live render. It creates a serene, yet mysterious atmosphere to this medieval city. There's an outward, obvious comfort to it all. It's just bright enough to push away any thoughts of cutthroats lurking in the alleys. Yet still the dark corners and obscured places remain. I look at each of them as we pass, contemplating the secrets they might hold, the acts they might conceal. I even spy some people lurking in them. Usually they look like a cook or a waiter out for a smoking break, the amber light from a cigarette illuminating just enough of their faces. All are mournful, yet contemplative as they find a brief respite. Within these idle observations, my mind begins to wander. You're gonna end up writing. That's what's gonna happen. It sets itself to a tune I can't quite place. Some old jazz song I'd heard once upon a time. A fleeting memory that I can barely hear as we continue walking. But it is there, and it captivates me, enthralling me to its will as I walk along. Soft, mournful, contemplative. It evokes a feeling of lounging and dread, yet is punctuated with hopefulness. It ebbs and flows like a spring breeze, and bites like a winter chill. Suddenly all these innocuous sights become all the more vivid. Those figures lurking in the shadows on their smoke break become mysterious visages, each containing their own story, just waiting to be explored. The few that walk past us become more characters in this unwritten story. They walk with purpose to some unknown destination, finding reason to continue on within the city. Even those long, inanimate shadows on the stone buildings begin to come alive. They begin to dance to this mystery tune and latch onto the ever-growing thought within my mind, the idea I've carried with me for months now, the idea I've desperately tried to capture. The noir story. Suddenly, a specter emerges from the shadows. A long trench coat, a fedora, nice shoes, not so nice as a hoity-toity man. He's a working man, a man on a mission doing his best to exist in a corrupt, decadent society, and perhaps find purpose. Steely gazed with piercing yellow eyes. He's a wolf on the prowl, marching forward to the tune of his story. His fate unknown, but decidedly his to make. You gave him your husband's eye color. I see what you're doing. I look at the specter, this character my mind has created, and will him to have a face, to have form. That's not your husband. How dare you? Oh no, it is Benny. Never mind. Is it young Benny? Benny slots effortlessly into his figure, and that's when it hits me. I'm inspired. You're so inspired you thought of the same description as earlier. I've heard some people lament how hard it is to come up with characters. Admittedly, it can be a daunting task, especially when you're talking about the main character of the story. They're the person your reader will spend the most time with. Their thoughts, feelings, passions, strengths, weaknesses, mannerisms. Everything that will make them will shape your reader's view of the entire story. Sure, there's some things you can obscure. Actually, in fact, there's plenty of things you should obscure from the reader. I'd probably encourage it. Nobody likes an exposition dump, after all. Oop. But finding that fine line to traverse, identifying what needs to be said about your character and what can be left unsaid is the real trick. That's what I've been working on for the past hour or so. It's nice to finally feel productive, to not be watching the clock with eagle eyes. What matters is getting all these thoughts about this guy out of my head before I lose track of them. That random bout of inspiration on our walk last night gave me more than enough to work with. A working man, dressed in typical early 50s attire, fedora, long loose trench coat, suit, tie, and nice shoes. The titular PI of the story. Sam Hunt. There's an alias. That's an alias. His real name's been obscured for his own safety, though he has revealed it on the rare occasion with those he trusts. Such occasions are few and far between for him, though. After all, when you're working against the Mafia in a post-World War II Italy, there's very few people you can trust. I might need to workshop the setting a little bit more. I know very little about Italy and absolutely nothing about what it was like after World War II. It doesn't seem like that much of a stretch to assume it was a chaotic, turbulent time period where criminal organizations and the Mafia could exert control. Definitely something to research more, just to be safe. And I make a few notes to do just that. Anyway, Sam. It's a bit weird that I'm imagining Benny as him, but, well, he does look really good in a suit. And in our younger years, Benny did have a bit of a melancholic attitude about things, especially his work. He was quite the crusader for proper procedures and a rule of law. Business, though. Not the kind of law Sam would be seeking. Yeah, a wolf is quite fitting for Sam. He's tenacious to a fault, perceptive of his surroundings with that piercing, yellow-eyed gaze, and he can hold his own in a... Oh, that might be a good character trait, actually. He can hold his own in a gunfight, but isn't the best at fisticuffs. I can definitely work with that. He probably wants to avoid fighting as much as possible, though. It's hard to dig up dirt if you're being hounded by the police or on a hit list for the Mafia. No, operating from the shadows would work best. Get involved only when absolutely necessary. What exactly is he trying to do? And who is Sam beyond the superficial details? I've got his appearance and basic traits down. That's easy, to be honest. It's the meat that I'm missing. That's the usual hang-up for some writers. They either get too far into the nitty-gritty details of their characters and never actually write anything with them. Endless world building, I've heard it called. Or they can't get started on anything except the superficial details. There's also those who make it up as they go along. Yep. Those writers scare me. I'm firmly in the middle of the spectrum. I've had more than my fair share of making it up as I go, but I try to avoid that. Getting a basic character sheet down always helps me out, and right now I'm having very little trouble doing it. I even throw a little bit of light research on the post-World Italy and Mafia. Before long, I think I've got a solid foundation built for Sam. Or at least, a good starting point. With a satisfied smile, I look over to what I've written and begin to read it out loud. You're reading aloud? On vacation? What's going on here? Did you forget about your vacation? Are you gonna be up too late? Is this gonna cause friction in the middle of your trip? Because now you're working when you're not supposed to be? Gabriel Baron, also known as Sam Hunt, an ex-detective with Italy's National Police Force. He's avoided the draft during the war and managed to steer clear of many of the fascist policies. He stayed in his lane, tried to help where he could, while the war waged on and the situation at home deteriorated. With the ousting of the Duce at the end of the war, and a brief Allied forces occupation, Sam became disheartened with the chaos and ineffectiveness of the police force. Crime was on the rise, and while he loathes the fascist ideology, their hard stance on stamping out organized crime is something he supports. Now, within the post-war power vacuum, he's found that many of his colleagues were roped into the resurgent criminal elements. They promise protection and security, but he is a student of history. It's only a matter of time before things get messy. He leaves the police force, founding his own private investigation firm, and adopts his alias for the first time. Work is slow at first, and he generally takes the odd job of investigating missing person cases or spying on a cheating husband for a distraught housewife. Eventually he gets his big break and helps expose a protection racket in his hometown. It's this action that placed him in the sights of many different factions. Some of the police praise him for his work. Some see him as a borderline vigilante. The Don for the Mafia doesn't pay him much attention, but one of the capos do, probably seeing him as a threat. The story will begin here in media res. Sam's on a high, finding that maybe he can make a difference when a mysterious third party enters the scene. Damn. That's pretty good. I think it sets the scene well for what could grow into a cautionary tale. An almost neo-noir, or maybe a story that evolves into a familiar noir tale by the end of it. Optimism, free will, and moral transparency give way to the cynicism, fatalism, and moral ambiguity that Sam felt when he left the police force. He's riding high, only to be brought down low. It might make for a depressing tale, but there could be a glimmer of hope. Something like the righteous fight is only just beginning. Maybe. Now this is kind of sound like a superhero story. Minus the tights, spandex, and capes. Huh. I'll need to keep things grounded for sure. Might need to watch some old noir films and read some detective novels to get the tone right. I do love a good slide into darkness type story, though. Oh, and there's that mysterious third party I'll need to figure out. Some side characters. Lots to do, but I don't feel that the idea is slowing down anytime soon. God, I'd miss this feeling. The flood of ideas, the flurry of keystrokes depositing word after word on the screen, laying the groundwork for a future story. Actually doing something with my time. I love it. The drive to write is back, and I'll be damned if I let it slip through my fingers again. I've got to get everything down. Capture every stray thought. I can organize it all later once I'm back home. Not bringing my laptop was a bit of a mistake, but thank God for smartphones. I keep tapping away, pinpointing more and more details for Sam's character and motivations. A tragic backstory, maybe? Some loss of a loved one to spur him on? The loss of a partner, enforcing his desire to work alone? Possible ideas for the setting? It's all written alongside footnotes after footnote of research requirements. An unbridled wave of I jump, the outside world flooding back in an instant. Cars and scooters passing by the open window. The chatter of pedestrians going about their day, and the droning sound of waves lapping at the shore, and my phone getting another text message. Shaking my head, I look at its notification bar, seeing that the messages are from Benny. Wait, is he not in the room? A quick glance around confirms he isn't, so I open my messages, hoping they'll reveal where he's run off to. Hey, hon, picked up some gelato for you. You coming down soon? Oh, shit. Fuck. I look at the time in the corner of the phone. Just past noon. 1:30 is a bit longer than that. Benny went down to the beach 3 hours ago, and I said... God damn it. I said I'd be down there in an hour. Nice going, idiot. I can't believe I let time get away from me like that. Well, that's kind of a lie. I wouldn't have fallen asleep in my office so often if I could keep track of time and pace myself. I sigh and go type out a response. New Speedo fits great, by the way. I belt out a laugh at that. Leave it to my wolf to send a text like that. The lightheartedness of it all washes away most of the guilt at having stayed in the hotel for so long. Most of it. I should still apologize. Alright, that's a decent stopping point, I think, for our preview of this. If you want to check out the rest of this, link in the description. I'm guessing that our character continues to get more inspiration for their novel, but it becomes a problem for their trip because he's neglecting actually being there with his husband. And it is called labor of love, so it kind of reminds me of that. Like, it's like being in a marriage and being in a relationship. It's about putting in the work every day. And if you're getting swept away in these fanciful stories now, then, well, you were worried about how stressed he was about how long, and like how all the planning that led up to this trip and so on. Like, if you get distracted by work now, like that can't go well, right? But anyway, you'll have to find that out in the full one. See you next time.